Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894. I'm Hugh. I've got Joe here with me as well for this PSG versus City Champions League semi-final first leg review. What a night in Paris for the Blues. We couldn't have asked for a better start to this tie, and we've got one foot in the door of this Champions League final in Istanbul. What a night. Let's get right into the review. Okay, so usually for our reviews, we do our player ratings, then we talk a bit about the game after, but this was such kind of a strange game with such an unbelievable outcome. We wanted to just talk about the game first and give our thoughts so you kind of have a bit of a better understanding why we gave certain players certain ratings. So stick with us for the second part of the video where you'll see what ratings we gave what players. But let's talk about the first half first, Joe, because we went into this semi-final so hopeful that we'd get a result, and the first half was just an absolute slogfest. So many sloppy mistakes. Obviously, we gave away the goal. PSG were, putting wave after wave of attack on our defense, which held out really well. I think our defense was so important last night. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the first half? And I'll have a chat about that.
I think the goal was, we said this on the stream, the goal was completely our own downfall. We always say this. The only team that can beat us is ourselves. It's our mistakes. It's our lapse in concentration. It's just poor set-piece defending. It's Gundogan's on the Marquinhos who scored. That's poor. He's got a free run to the near post. No one's tracking him. So I think it's all around just a bit of a mess. But to be fair to us, we rode our luck at times. We got, to half-time relatively unscathed. We were 1-0 down. It could have been more. There was another corner, I think, later on in the first half where we also could have conceded from it. Carbon copy, but from the other side into the near post. No one's tracking the run. Header goes wide. So I think if there's one thing we need to improve upon in the second leg, it's our set-piece defending. We look really vulnerable at times when we give them away, especially in wider areas where they can cross it in. It's been something that we've struggled with for a few years now, I think. We haven't been the best at set pieces. We've been better at scoring set pieces this year, but I think defending set pieces is usually our Achilles heel. So, and then second half is just what we do best. We come out the blocks, we dominate from start to finish, and I think we were quite unlucky not to score another one and make it 3.
On the first half, though, it was a completely different game to the second half. And I think you made a really good point there a second ago, which was that we are our own downfall. I think on paper, man for man, we are the best team in Europe right now. I don't think there's a better team in Europe with all-around squad depth and so many good players in so many positions. And it's a simple case of if we play well, we'll win. And that's what we did in the second half, which we'll talk about in a sec. But in the first half, there was so many sloppy mistakes, so many players giving the ball away so carelessly. Rodri in the first half, I thought was really poor. I know some people don't think he was that bad, but I thought he was really poor when I was watching it. A lot of slap mistakes, giving the ball away unnecessarily. Phil Foden, likewise, he obviously missed an unbelievable chance late on in the first half. It was a pretty poor attempt from Phil Foden. We saw that from him in the first Dortmund game as well. He missed one, but he went on to rectify it and score one. He could have made a better attempt at goal there. He shouldn't have shot it straight at Keylor Navas, and I appreciate that he had a player coming in putting pressure on his right-hand side, but a player of Foden's quality, I expect a bit more. But I felt the main issue was PSG had so much freedom and room to maneuver and do exactly what they want. I always say, if you watch us regularly, that football games are completely won and lost in the midfield. So whoever has the best midfield presence, the most controlling midfield, will generally dominate the game. And that's exactly what PSG had in the first half. Players like Rodri, Bernardo, Gundogan, slight more credit to Bernardo. I thought he was trying to make things happen. Same to De Bruyne. But overall, our midfield presence was quite non-existent. PSG were able to transition from defence to attack really quickly, which is why our defence needs so much praise for the whole game last night. My standout player from defence, you're probably expecting to say Diaz, who was absolutely phenomenal as well, but it was Kyle Walker. We said that Kyle Walker in our preview was one of the fastest players in Europe, and definitely one of the fastest in England. So you'd like to think he would have done a decent job on Mbappe, and he absolutely did. If I'm not mistaken, the stats show Mbappe didn't have a proper shot on goal or a shot on target or something along those lines. And we saw on a few Mbappe and Walker going in kind of a race sort of mode together, and it was unbelievable to see two absolute pace merchants. So our defence were unbelievably key for us in that first half to keep us fortunate in going into halftime just 1-0 down. But moving on to the second half, a completely different team. We seem to be a second half team in Europe. You look at both the Dortmund games, particularly the first leg, we came out a completely different team. I don't know what is in our team talks. You would have heard us in the watch along last night. I said it. I don't know what they say in our team talks. I assume Fernandinho, Pep, Kev, they all stand up and give words of wisdom, because it seems to rejuvenate the team. They seem to fully believe in themselves and come out. and I think you'll agree with me that they did look like a completely different team. Some magnificent performances. Rodri turned around his game. He did look much better in the second half, which is why when you see our player ratings in a few minutes' time, we gave him probably more than we would have done if he'd continued the way he was in the first half. But I think the main talking points from the second half are the goals. Okay, so we were kind of riding our luck a bit not to concede more in the first half, but in these competitions, in this stage of this competition, the Champions League, a big tie, the two best teams in Europe, PSG and City, I firmly believe they are. You do need that glimmer of luck, and we absolutely got that. And it's kind of fair, I think, at this stage. Some of you in the comments can kind of talk about this as well if you fancy it. I think it's fair that we got that bit of luck, because in so many recent years in the Champions League, we've been so unlucky. You think about the Llorente handball goal against us. You think about games against Monaco and some silly decisions that never would have gone our way, and now we're getting that little bit of luck. It's like the gods are looking down on us and saying, maybe it's your turn now. So De Bruyne's was clearly an attempted cross. I know Joe said before we recorded that the broadcasters were saying that De Bruyne had 0 out of 8 successful crosses, but that's a pretty successful cross to me if you ask, one that ends up in the back of the net straight from his boot. And then, of course, Mahrez with the free kick. What are your thoughts on those goals and what I'm kind of talking about when I say luck? Because there was a huge amount of luck involved in both of them.
Yeah, we say, a lot of people say this, including us. To win the Champions League, you need a lot of luck going your way. We saw it against Dortmund. Refereeing decisions went slightly our way. And then we saw it again tonight, where attempted cross ends up in the back of the net, and there's a free kick that goes through the wall and ends up going in as well. Listen, we deserve this. You can't say we don't deserve this, because there are multiple occasions you can look back on and say, well, we have been so unfortunate with events that have happened. Like you say, the Llorente handball, and just, it's written in the stars now. The only team that can lose this now is us. We've got 1 foot in the final. PSG need to go and score 2 goals without reply. Their away form is good. I will give them that. They have got a pretty decent away record as of so far. But I do back us. I don't, it's not often that we concede 2 goals, especially at home. I know you can look at our leads. We conceded 2, yeah, but we still scored 1. That would have taken it to extra time. If there's one year you're going to be confident, it's this year. Our defence is the best I think it's ever been, especially under Pep. I don't think I've seen a better defence from us. We're getting all the luck this year, it seems. And I'd be confident in the final against either Madrid or Chelsea, because we did a watch along, us two, the other night, of them two, and neither of them really looked as if they were going to win the game. Chelsea more so, but Madrid weren't, that great. So again, you ride your luck. That's what we're doing. We're doing well so far. I think, we might have a shocking first half at home, but I think, if we come out of that relatively unscathed in the home leg, I think second half we'll come out the blocks again, because it's just what we seem to be doing at the moment.
Yeah, you touched on something there that I think is very significant. Is Chelsea, Real Madrid? Obviously, they're not. I don't think they're as good as us. But Chelsea won the Champions League in 2012. I think it's 2012. Maybe I'm wrong on that, against Bayern Munich, where they were probably nowhere near one of the strongest teams in the competition that season. You had a flying Barcelona. Obviously, Bayern Munich, they played in the final in their home ground. People. Chelsea it was just kind of that written in the stars sort of thing that they got to win it. And I have a funny feeling, I could be completely wrong, and I always say this, it could come back to bite me in the arse, but I just have a feeling it could be our year. And don't get me wrong, you're right. The second leg, the job is nowhere near done. PSG have more than enough firepower to punish us and get themselves well back into this tie and win the tie as well. When you have class, 400 million worth front line, you've more than enough chance to score goals and knock us out. But like I said, if we put in a defensive performance like we did throughout the whole game really last night, I see no reason why we can't. Like you said yourself, this is the strongest defense we have under Pep Guardiola probably ever. And they really showed that last night. To a man, all the defenders, when they were really needed in the first half particularly. They didn't have a huge amount to do in the second half, bar little tiny spells of PSG attacks. But in the first half, they were under a lot of pressure because, like I said earlier on, the midfield was non-existent. So got a massive game against Palace this weekend. Obviously, we win that and Liverpool beat United. We win the Premier League. That would be unbelievable confidence. Yes, the Premier League. We absolutely love winning the Premier League. Don't get me wrong. That would be an amazing day in its own. But if we're talking about the PSG second leg here, winning a Premier League on Sunday and then going into a Champions League second leg on Tuesday, you would think our lads are pretty goddamn confident. Anyways, that is our short sort of synopsis on what we thought of each half last night. Two very different halves, you know what I mean? And I think from a neutral's perspective, everyone would have really enjoyed it. It was definitely an unbelievable display of footballing talent. So let's get over to our player ratings, and you can see what we thought, and you can tell us yours too. Okay, so our player ratings are on screen right now for you people to see at home. Let us know your thoughts on our ratings down below. Would you change anything? Would you give anybody a higher or a lower rating? I'm sure you all got different ideas because it was just one of those games where certain players had, massive dips and improvements in performances in the space of minutes. So let's get right into it. Ederson, we gave a 7 to, because when you actually think about it, and if you remember the game, he didn't have a huge amount to do. He made one or two decent saves, but for all the ball PSG had in the first half, they didn't actually get very many shots on goal. I don't think Neymar or Mbappe had. Possibly, I don't think they had one each. Maybe Neymar had one. But anyway, Ederson's a 7 because he was decent. It was a good performance, and he made a few really good long range passes, which we know he's so good at. Cancelo, unfortunate for him, he played the whole period where we were in a bit of a rut. We were struggling to get a hold of the game, so we gave him a 6. Zinchenko came on, and Zinchenko, in fairness to him, completely changed the game. So if Zinchenko was in the starting 11, we probably would have given him a 7 or an 8 at the very least, because he was fantastic. Joe, let's talk about the two centre halves, Diaz and Stones. What a performance from both of them. Leadership qualities from both of them. Unbelievable tackles, the determination, the quality on display as well. Both of them phenomenal. Well, we gave both of them a 9.
I mean, to keep Haaland quiet is something. To keep Haaland and Mbappe quiet is something else. Yeah. Within the space of a month, I think the stat is something like we've kept Neymar, Mbappe, Haaland, and Kane relatively quiet in the last month. We've just damped it. Obviously, Laporte was in for Stones when we faced Kane, but Diaz has helped keep all of them quiet. That's how good our defence is. They defended really well from open play. Mbappe didn't even have a single shot all game. Not even just a shot on target, just a shot in general. He just didn't have one at all. I think, to touch on Cancelo a little bit, I think the game just wasn't his. It wasn't right. With how narrow PSG defended, he was being forced out wide, and we know that he wants to come inside and use his right foot, so it didn't really suit him. It was right to take him off because he was also on a booking. But yeah, Stones, I mean, how many times are we going to say Stones and Diaz have been exceptional? It's becoming a recurring theme now. There was a few people, including myself, that were a bit, surprised almost to see Stones start, given how well Laporte did in the final. But, I mean, it's completely justified now. It's worked. I don't think anyone was against it. I just think people were like, well, what more does Laporte have to do? But, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't seem to matter who we play out of the two. Because, I mean, we're just blessed with centre-back options now.
What I'm really impressed with from John Stones is he had a slight dip in form. Nothing major, just for a few weeks, a slight dip in form. You put together the red card, the major slip up for England, and then he comes out tonight when we needed it the absolute most. A gargantuan game against PSG. Two of arguably, if not the best, two forwards in world football up against you, and he puts in an absolute storm of a performance. Just to touch on your point as well a second ago, what a testament to Ruben Diaz. He's played against Haaland twice, Kane and Son as well on Sunday, and now Mbappe and Neymar all in the space of a month, none of which have scored. Honest to God, that's absolutely unbelievable. And that's what we've been lacking, and that's what we wanted from a centre half. We were saying it all last summer, we need a leader, just a Rolls Royce of a centre half to come in and just steady the ship, and that's exactly what Diaz has done. So unbelievable from those two last night. 9 out of 10 for both of them. But I'm going to wave over Walker for a sec, because we'll come back to him, and then we'll talk about the midfield for a sec. Rodri we gave a 7 to, because like I said in the first segment of the show, he probably had I think it's poor at first half. I think it's fair to say from my own personal opinion, gave away the ball a lot, trying things he possibly shouldn't have. But then the second half, he was a completely different player. He looked great at the things he was trying in the first half, which were working in the second half, and he just looked more confident, more vigorous. It was just happening for him. But then Gundogan 8, Bernardo 8. Gundogan, what a trooper, lads! What an absolute trooper. He's a silent operator usually, and he's really classy. He controls the pace of the game really well. He links players together. He just does his job really well. And for him to get absolutely crunched by your man Idris Gueye, who got the red card, suspended for the next leg, by the way, which is probably a positive for us. For him to be absolutely crunched to the Achilles like that and still troop on for the rest of the game it's unbelievable character. He was absolutely phenomenal. What did you think of both Gundo and Bernardo last night, Joe?
I think Bernardo was our best player in the first half. He was the most dangerous. He had an opportunity where Cancelo kind of crosses it across. relatively close to the byline, so he would have found it difficult to score, but he still got it on target, made Navas make a save, squared it to Foden, who probably should have scored. He was pressing really, really well. I thought in the first half he was the best at putting them under pressure, but we come to expect that now. You call him the Duracell Bunny. He just runs and runs and runs. He just doesn't seem to stop. Gundogan, I think we said he was a bit quiet in the first half, but in the second half, he just does Gundogan things. You know, you call him the silent operator sometimes as well. He just goes about his business, does everything right. He doesn't really put a foot wrong. And I'm really happy that he wasn't injured in the end and that he carried on. And he also put out on Twitter, I think, saying that he was fine. And, you know, that's good for us because he's been integral to our season.
He should be absolutely up there for one of the players of the season, or in the team of the season anyway, for the Premier League. He's been absolutely exceptional. He's a Rolls Royce of a midfielder. He's really grown into this role, and he's doing it, you know, with flying colours. But moving on to the front three, Foden, we gave a 7 to. I hate doing that because he's my favourite player in the squad. I absolutely love Phil Foden, and I know he offers so much to the team, and he will for so long in the future. But we gave a 7 to him based on the fact that he did miss that chance in the first half, which you would expect a player of his quality to do at least better with, make the keeper work a bit more. But he grew into the game. Definitely in the second half was a lot better. But we think with his high quality and the expectations he sets for himself, the standard he sets for himself, that high bar, I think a 7 is about fair for him. Mahrez and De Bruyne, both are goal scorers. Both got a bit of luck for their goals, but they both contributed so much. Mahrez, he struggled a bit in the first half with Bakker, who's playing in their left back position. Kind of did a good job on him as usual, as expected. Most teams double up on Mahrez because he's so effective off that right wing. But in the second half, he really came into it. He really went for it. He really flourished and is so deserved of that bit of luck for that free kick. Similar for De Bruyne. I think throughout the whole game, even in the first half when things weren't going our way, De Bruyne was showing that leadership, that serious aggression that we want from a captain on the pitch. You can tell he really wants to win this. He really, really wants to win the Champions League. And he's also really deserved of getting that bit of luck with his goal. So 7-9-9, Foden, De Bruyne, Mahrez, all really good in their own right, and they all contributed very heavily, especially in the second half. But let's move back to the man I waved over a few minutes ago, Kyle Walker, 10 out of 10, okay? I know the broadcasters gave De Bruyne man of the match, but Kyle Walker is our man of the match, okay? That's why you see the star beside his name. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal last night. He was aggressive. He used his pace. He went forward when he thought was right. His decision-making was perfect. I just thought he was an all-round, really, really good right full and exactly what you wanted from a man marking the fastest probably player in the world in Mbappe. What did you think of Kyle Walker? What are your thoughts?
He is showing now why he should start every important game. I know at the start of the season it was a bit shaky. He gave away a few penalties. You know, he's a bit clumsy. He still has that in him. Don't get me wrong. He still has that odd lapse in concentration. But if there's one person you want chasing after Mbappe as a defender, it's probably Kyle Walker. He is so quick. And again, he contributed to the Mbappe and Neymar being relatively quiet. He was, I think, underrated by quite a lot of people last night. I know I see a few lower ratings for him. I think his work is not appreciated enough. I think going into Palace, I would rest him because I want him 100% for the second leg.
For sure. I couldn't agree anymore. He is absolutely crucial to this type, specifically with PSG and the players they have on offer. I firmly believe if he wasn't on the pitch and in the form he was last night, PSG would have posed a huge amount more threat than they did. I think they would have been able to expose us using their pace, which they did against Bayern. So Kyle Walker is our man of the match. 10 out of 10 for him. Whatever about people underrating him, I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. I know Joe did too, and Dara did as well. He was fantastic. So 10 out of 10 for him. We're going to wrap up the video there. That is our player ratings. I hope you enjoyed the video. Before we sign off, I want to say a massive, massive thank you to all of you, first of all. You've all been unbelievable with the support. We've just hit, I think we're one off 210 subscribers. We couldn't have even dreamed of that a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely amazing. And we got something like close to 30 likes on the watch along last night. So honest to God, all of you who come in all the time that show support, and all our new subscribers too, thank you so, so much. And if you fancy chatting to us regularly, you can join our Discord. You'll see the names on the screen floating below Joe. Just below that, you'll get your name there. If you join our Discord, it's free to join. The link is in the description. Myself, Joe, and Dara are there all the time talking all things City with the rest of the cool guys that are in there. So join if that's something that takes your fancy. Thank you so much again for watching. Like if you haven't done already, subscribe if you haven't done already, and we will see you for Crystal Palace on Saturday morning. Peace. bye.